Hi everyone, this is Arohi from Python Technologies, and in this video I'll explain what is AlexNet, and then I'll explain layer architecture of AlexNet and what is the significance of every layer, and finally I'll show you how to use AlexNet practically on a custom dataset. So, AlexNet is a convolutional neural network, and AlexNet got famous in 2012 after winning the ImageNet competition. So, ImageNet is basically a dataset of over 15 million labeled high resolution images belong to different 22,000 categories, right? So, AlexNet is basically used for object detection tasks. So let's see the layer structure of AlexNet. So this is the layer structure of AlexNet. If you'll see over here, so AlexNet consists of 8 layers. So if we'll count these layers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So AlexNet consists of 8 layers, and out of these 8 layers, 5 layers are convolutional layers. So from here to here, see conv, I've written these conv in front of that. So these first 5 layers are convolutional layer, and then we have 3 fully connected layers, right? So AlexNet in total have 8 layers. Out of those 8 layers, 3 layers are fully connected layers and 5 layers are convolutional layer, and these are the pooling process in between, right? And the input size which AlexNet accepts is 227 into 227 into 3. This 3 refers to colored image. So see the input to this first convolutional layer. This is the first convolutional layer. Input to this first convolutional layer is 227 into 227 into 3 image. Right? This is the input to the first convolutional layer. And then first convolutional layer will apply 96 filters of size 11 by 11 with a stride of 4 pixels, right? This is what first convolutional layer will do when it receives the input. It will apply 96 filters of 11 by 11 and with a stride of 4 pixels. See, if you don't know what is stride and what is padding, then check the videos in the comment section. I have added the link of those video, like what is padding and what is stride, because I think these two topics are important while working on computer vision problems. So go through it once if you don't have idea. So after this, and then we have a pooling layer. After this first convolutional layer, we have a pooling layer where we are using a window size of 3 by 3 with the stride of 2 pixels. So over here we will move a window size of 3 by 3 on a whole image, right? And then it will give us a image with reduced size, and obviously the output of this layer will become the input to next layer. So the output of first layer will become the input of this second convolutional layer, where we are using 256 filters, right? Filters or kernels, one and same thing only. So over here we are using 256 filters of size 5 by 5 with padding 2. See, all this stride is 4 and these many filters and padding is this much. This is already defined in AlexNet in 2012 by using all these filter size and all these paddings and stride by using this particular network. So this AlexNet won that particular competition. So we are using that similar things, that similar parameters over here, so that we can get good result on a object detection tasks also, right? So we are using 5 by 5 filter and we are using 256 filters and with padding too. Now output of this will become input of this. So again we are using a max pooling layer over here, and pooling layer, what pooling layer does is it will reduce the size of the image. It will reduce the size of the image which it received from here, and then pass the output to the next convolutional layer. Means the output from here will become the input of the third convolutional layer. Now you'll see over here the third, fourth and fifth convolutional layer. This is third convolutional layer, this is fourth convolutional layer, and this is fifth convolutional layer. They are connected to one another without any pooling layer in between them. So you can see that there is no pooling layer in between. So these three convolutional layers are connected with one another without any pooling layer in between. And the third convolutional layer, this layer is having 384 filters of size 3 by 3 with padding 1, and fourth layer is again having the same parameters. 3 by 3 is a filter size and we want to apply 384 filters on the image, and padding is 1 again. Third and fourth layer is doing same functionality. In our fifth layer, you will see over here, filter size is same 3 by 3, but we are using 256 filters over here with padding 1. So after these three continuous convolutional layer, we are finally having one max pool layer. The task of max pool layer is to reduce the size of the image which it is receiving from here. And then we have fully connected layer, three fully connected layer, 1, 2 and 3. The last layer, this layer, is using the softmax activation function for output calculation, which produces a distribution over 1000 class label. Means the last, see over here 4096 means 4096 neuron in this fully connected layer, and in second fully connected layer also we are having 4096 neurons, and in the last layer we are having 1000 neurons. See, it again depends upon the data set, and let's suppose you are doing a image classification or detection task and you are having 10 different labels. So how many neurons we are going to have in the final layer? 10 neurons, right? It always depends upon the number of different labels of your data set. The over here will choose only those many neurons. So for this problem, let's assume we have 1000 different classes. So in output class, we are having 1000 different neurons for storing. Every neuron will store a different label result, class labeled result. So see, this architecture, this layer architecture which I've just shown you is the basic architecture of AlexNet, right? Now let's understand AlexNet layers in more details. Means what is happening inside each layer mathematically, right? And how the size of image is reducing layer by layer, what is the math behind it, and what is the size of image after every layer. Let's see all these things mathematically in my next slide. Okay, before going to this next slide, I want you to understand these two formulas, because by using these two formulas only we are going to solve our this AlexNet mathematical problem. See, if the layer is not having padding, without padding, see, if I talk about the first layer, convolutional layer, we are having stride, number of filter and filter size. We are not having padding over here. So if layer is not having padding, then use this formula, n minus f by s plus 1 into n minus f by s plus 1. What is n over here? N is the image size. So our original image size is 227 into 227. So n is 227. F is a filter size. So what is the filter size in the first layer? 11. So this is 11. N is the image size, F is the filter size, S means stride. So what is the stride in first layer? 4 pixels. So we are giving 4 over here and then plus 1 and into same things over here. So after that we are getting 55 into 55 into 96. This is the image dimension after solving this first convolutional layer, right? Original image size is this, which is the input of this layer, but the output of this layer is 55 into 55 into 96. Why 96? Because we want to apply 96 filters on it. So means after applying this formula we got 55 into 55, and this 96 means number of channels. Means see, it always depends upon how many number of filters we are using in a layer. So if you are using 256 layers in filters in a layer, so in the last we'll be having channel is 256. So this is the image size after first convolutional operation, and we use this formula when we are not using padding in the layer. So, and if you are using padding in the layer, for example, let's talk about second convolutional layer. Over here, we are using 256 filters of size 5 by 5 and we are using padding over here. So I hadn't mentioned stride over here. So when there is, stride is not written over here, that means stride is 1. Okay, by default the value of stride is 1. So the formula will become n plus 2p. P is padding, n, as I've already told you, is the image size, f is a filter size, s is a stride. So we'll apply this formula when you use padding in it. So the thing which I've explained over here is about this max pooling layer. So the output of this layer will become the input to max pool. What is the output of this layer? The output of this layer is 55 into 55 into 96. And how we got this? By solving this formula. Now this 55 into 55 into 96 will become the input of this max pool, right? Over here filter size is 3 by 3 and stride is 2. Okay, padding is again not over here. So I'm solving this one. Padding is 2 over here. So we'll fill the formula and we'll get some output over here. So just remember, if you are using padding in your layer, we will be using this formula, and if there is no padding in a layer, then we'll use this formula. Now let's solve the whole layer structure over here. So input image is of this size. This will become the input of the first convolutional layer, and first convolutional layer is not having padding, so the formula will be n minus f by s plus 1 into n minus f by s plus 1. So n is the input size. Input size is 227, which I just explained you, right? This is what I'm solving over here. So after the first convolutional layer, what will be the output? 55 into 55 into 96 means the image, the original size of image is 227 into 227 into 3. After solving, after running it through first convolutional layer, that image size became this 55 into 55 into 96. Now this is the input of this max pool layer, right? Now let's see this max pool layer. Again, we are not having padding in it, so that means similar formula will work over here. Over here, what is n in the case of max pool? 55, because the output of previous layer will become the input of this, and the output is 55. So n is 55 in this case. And what is the filter size? 3 by 3, that means 55, n minus f. N is 55 minus f filter size. Filter size is 3 over here. By s. How much stride we are using over here? 2. So that's why I've written 2 plus 1. And on the other side also we'll be writing same thing. And this is the output after max pool layer. See, after convolutional layer and then after running max pool layer, our image get reduced from 227 into 227 into 3 to 27 into 27 into 96. Why 96? Because we are having 96 filter. We are applying 96 filter. So the output channel will become 96. So now our image size is 27 into 27 into 96, which is the output of max pool, and this will become input of the next convolutional layer. What is the input to next convolutional layer? 27 into 27 into 96. Now, in second convolutional layer, we are having padding, right? And stride is not mentioned over here, so that means stride value is 1. And now we are having padding. So this is the code for maths for this particular layer. Formula is n plus 2p minus f. Why 2p minus f? Because we are using padding in it. And when you fill all the values, so you'll get 27 into 27 into 256 as output. Why 256? Because we are having 256 filters in it. So always remember, in output channel will be always equal to the number of filters of that layer. So image is 27 into 27 only, and this 256 simply means because we are having 266 filters in it. And then again we have max pool layer. In max pool layer we are not having any padding, so we'll solve it and we are getting 13 into 13 into 256 after this max pool layer. Now the image size after this 2 convolutional and 2 max pool layer is get reduced to 13 into 13 into 256. Now this 13 into 13 into 256 will become the input of this third convolutional layer, right? And this is the code for third convolutional layer. We are again applying the formula, and after applying the formula, we are getting 13 into 13 into 384. Why 384? Because we are having 384 filters in this layer, right? And similar code will work for fourth layer also, because the dimensions and parameters are same, right? That means after the fourth layer, the output is 13 into 13 into 384. This is the dimension of our image after the fourth layer. So over here you'll see that the height and width of the image is getting reduced, right? 13 into 13. In originally height and width of the image was 227 into 227, but after running it to few convolutionals and maxpool layer, height and width become 13 into 13, but depth is increasing, right? Why depth is increasing? Because we are using different number of filters in it, right? So in fifth convolutional layer, this will be the, by applying the same formula, see, we are getting, this will be the output of fifth convolutional layer, 13 into 13 into 256. Why 256? Because we are having 256 filters in it. Now we are applying max pool on it. After applying max pool on it, right? So this is the final image size after the convolutional operation, 6 into 6 into 256. So now you can see that from 227 to 227, our image gets reduced to 6 into 6, and this 256 is means we are having 256 different filters. We are having 256 different images which are storing different features, right? Now after this convolutional task is completed, now the task is to do object detection. So whenever we want to do object detection, we always use fully connected layers for object detection. So now the task is we need to convert this two-dimensional image into a one-dimensional image. How we can do that? Just multiply it. 6 into 6 into 256 is 9216 pixels. Now we will give these 9216 pixels to this fully connected layer, and we have 4096 neurons in it. These 4096 neurons will accept these 9216 pixels and process it. In the same way, output of this layer will become input of this, and this layer is again having 4096 neurons, right? So it will again process, and finally we have a output layer. Output layer have 1000 neurons, because we have 1000 different classes to classify the objects from, and every neuron will store one, class label information. So this will give us the output. So this is how AlexNet works. Right. Now I'll show you the practical example. Don't worry if you are, confused over here. We'll see the things practically now with custom dataset. I'll show you with the help of code how to design your algorithm and how to get good results. So I'll show you each and everything by using a custom dataset now. So the dataset which we are using here is this custom dataset, and we have one folder with the name of room dataset, and in that particular folder we have two kind of room, bedroom and dining room. Basically what we want to do is we want to perform a object detection task, and task is basically we have a dataset, and that dataset is stored in a room dataset folder, right? In that folder we have two different kind of folder. One is bedroom folder and other one is dining room folder, right? And we want to train our algorithm on these two different type of room images, right? A bedroom folder and dining room folder. Okay, so what I'm doing over here is, first of all, I'm importing all the required modules, and then I'm using os.listdir. What this list directory does is it will give you the list of folders and files which are present in at this particular path, right? So this is already a folder, and what I want is I want to get a list of all the folders which are present in this particular folder, and I'm storing it in rooms underscore types, and then I'm printing it. So I get these two output, bedroom and dining room. That means these two different folders are present in at this particular location. Now over here I'm just using a length method on the same variable. It is showing me 2 because we have two different kind of rooms. right? So now what I want is, see, first of all, whenever we want to apply our algorithm, we need to, pre-process our data. We need to, ready our data so that we can work on it. So what I'm doing over here is, right now I'm creating one list, rooms. This is a blank list. And what I want to store in this list, basically, I want to store all the images from both folders. We have two folders, right? Bedroom folder and dining room folder. I want to store images from both the folders with proper path in one list, and that list is rooms list, which is blank right now. So I'm using a loop. I'm using two loops over here, for loops. First for loop will help us in entering a folder, means by using this loop we'll enter first folder first of all, and by using this loop we will get all the images of that particular folder. In the same way, then when first folder work get completed, we'll enter the second folder by using this loop, and then by using this loop we'll get all the images of that particular folder. And let me show you the result, how the result look like. I'm printing the rooms list over here, and this is how we are getting information. This is the folder name in front of this. First of all, what is this? This is a folder name, and this is the location of first image, and again this is the second image of same folder, this is the third image of same folder. In the same way we are having different images. See, this data set is very small, so in both the folders we have 20 images. The first 20 images of bedroom, and then we have 20 images of uh, dining room. Right. Now, this data, 20 images of bedroom and 20 images of dining room with the folder name, and then the proper path of the image, we have stored all this in a one list, which is a rooms list, right? Now, what I want is, you know I want to separate the two things. I want to store the labels in separate folder. These are the labels, and these are the related images. I want to store the labels in separate column, and I want to store the images, related images, in a separate column. So what I'm doing over here is, I'm creating a data frame by using pandas, and the data which we are providing to this data frame is stored in rooms list. And I want to create two column. One is room type column and other one is image column. Under this room type column, I'll store all the room types, means dining room and bedroom. And under image column, I want to store the path of the image. So over here, by using head method of pandas, I'm showing you the data frame. See how this looks like. Room type column, we have the room names, means this is our output labels, and these are the related images, and we have stored the images in a image column. Now let's check how many different records were there in our data set. So I'm using length method and we get 40. Why we are getting 40? Because we have 20 different images in bedroom folder and 20 images in dining room folder, and we have stored all that data together in one list, and we have created a data frame of it. So 20 plus 20 is 40. So total number of records were 40 now. So in next cell, I am just performing a value count just to show you, like we have 20 images in bedroom and 20 images in dining room. Now the next task is, see, whenever we want to use any computer vision task, whenever we want to perform any computer vision task, the very first thing is that all our images should be of same size. And as I've shown you that AlexNet use input as 227 into 227 into 3. That means we have to resize all our images to 227 into 227, right? So I have created two blank lists. One is images list and other one is labels list. So in this images list, I'll store all the resized images, and in labels list, I'll store all the labels. So let's resize our images. So for that, I'm using a loop. First for loop is to enter in a folder, and second loop is to resize a image. So how we are resizing a image? First of all, we are reading a image by using cv2.imread, and then by using cv2.resize, we are resizing a image, and im size, comma im size. What is this im size? IM size is storing the image length and width. Means after reading an image, we have read the image in img variable, and then we want to resize that image to im size comma im size, means 227 comma 227. After we have resized our image, we will append our images list where we want to store all the resized images, and we are also appending a labels list so that we can store the corresponding labels of the resized images in this labels list, right? So now we have all our images in images list and related labels in labels list. So let's print both the list and see what kind of data we have. So over here I'm printing a labels list. So you can see we have labels, 20 labels of bedroom and 20 labels of dining room, because in total we have 40 images, 20 each, right? So and then I'm printing images list. When you print images list, you will see your data in the form of numbers. Why? Because computer understands images in the form of array pixels, in the form of numbers. So this is how our image looks like. This is how our computer reads our images. And then over here, we are converting our images into an array by using numpy.array, right? And in next line, I'm dividing that images by 255. 255, see, this is just for mathematical simplicity. The pixel intensity lies between 0 to 255. 255 is the highest number. We are dividing all the pixels value by 255 just for mathematical simplicity. So all our images get pre-processed. Images are ready for for our algorithm. Now let's talk about labels. So if you'll see over here, our labels are in the form of strings. It is in the form of alphabets. And in machine learning and deep learning, our algorithm understand numerics only. So that means we need to perform label encoding and one-hot encoding on a while. So this is what I've done over here. So after performing label encoding on our Y column, on our labels column, we get this output. 40 rows and 2 columns. Why 2 columns? Because we had two kind of labels. One is bedroom and other one is dining room. Now, let's divide our data into train and test. So after dividing our data into train and test, see over here test size is 5%, which is very small. See, the data set which I'm using over here is very small. This is just to make you understand the concept, right? So otherwise in reality, if you are working on, using such algorithms, so data should be more, right? But over here I'm just taking 40 images to make you understand the concept, because it will take less time to train your algorithm and test your results, right? So the test size is 5%, and once you divide your data into train and test, you'll get 38 records were there in for training, and we were testing on 2 records, right? So that means we will train our algorithm on 30 records, 30 images, and we will test our algorithm on 2 images. So now over here I have two variables, x and y underscore. So these two are placeholders. Placeholder means we are not giving values right now. Later on at the time of running our algorithm, we'll pass the values, right? X means input, and input to this algorithm is what is the input to LXNet network? The image, and image should be of size 227 into 227 into 3. 3 means colored image. This should be the input shape. So none means this is for batch size. So this we are giving in X, and Y. Y means num class. What is the, how many output labels are there? So 2. In num classes I've stored 2. So this is what X and Y is. Now the task is to design a network. So whenever we design a network, so we have weights associated with inputs, and we also use biases also. So let's define weights and biases for our algorithm. So if you remember AlexNet, I've just shown you in the beginning of our today's lecture only that the very first layer will have 11 by 11 filter. The size of filter would be 11 by 11, and we would be having 96 such filter, and stride is 4, right? So what we are doing is I've created a dictionary with the name of weights. right? I've created two dictionary. In weights dictionary, I'll store weight for all 8 layers, and in bias dictionary, I'll store biases for all 8 layers, right? So let's discuss this in detail. So this is W1, W2, weights is a dictionary. W1 is the weight associated with the first layer. W2 is the weight associated with the second layer. Let me show you with the help of diagram. So this is our layer structure. First layer is having 11 by 11 filter, and we want 96 such filters. So this is what we are writing in W1 weight, right? 11 by 11 filter. This third 3 means the number of channels, output channels, right? And 96 such filters. And the name of the this particular weight is W1. Again, we have W2. In W2, now let's see the second convolutional layer. What is the filter size? 5 by 5. And how many filters we want? 256 filters. And the output of this convolutional layer will become the input of this layer, right? Now let's see the weight of second layer. Filter size is 5 by 5. But over here we are having output channel as 96. Why? Because in the previous convolutional layer we were using 96 filters, and output channel will also become 96, right? Output channel always depend upon the number of filters of that particular layer, and in previous layer we were having 96 filter, so the output channel will become 96, right? And the filter size is 5 by 5, and we want 256 such filters, right? In the same way for W3, what we are saying, filter size is 3 by 3, 256 is the number of channels. Why? Because the previous layer is having 256 filters. If you see the picture, the second layer is having 256 filters, right? That means when the will get the output after this layer, that layer will have number of channel equal to 256. In the same way, when we will be working on this third convolutional layer, how many output channels will have? 384. Why? Because we have 384 filters in it, right? So according to this, we have defined the different weight values. Third layer have filter sizes 3 by 3. This is the output channel, which depends upon the previous layer output, and we want to have 384 such filters. In the same way, we have defined the weights for fourth, fifth layer. So these are the first 5 weights. These are the 5 weights of first 5 convolutional layer. Now these are the weight value for the fully connected layer. So see, after the convolutional task, if you'll see this image again, after this convolutional task, after this 5 convolutional layer, we have max pool layer, and the output of that max pool is 6 into 6 into 256, right? After that, we want to give this image, give this data to fully connected layer. At that time, we need to convert this image, two-dimensional image, into a one-dimensional, array. So how we can do that? We just need to simply multiply it. 6 into 6 into 256 is 9216 pixels, right? So we are converting this two-dimensional image to a one-dimensional vector, and then we are passing that value to the fully connected layer. So this is what we are doing over here. Input to the first fully connected layer is the multiplication of this, which is 9216, and this layer will have 4096 neurons, and the output of this layer will become input to next layer. So the output is 4096, and next layer also have how many neurons? 4096. That means input and output is 4096, and this is a final layer. So if you'll see over here, the output of this layer will become input to this, and this is the output of a final layer. So why we are having only 2 neurons in a final layer? Because we are performing a object detection task, and in that object detection task we have two kind of label, bedroom and dining room, right? So that's why we need only 2 neurons. And again, these are the different 8 bias values for the 8 different layers. Now we have defined the weights and biases. Now let's design a network, LXNet network, right? So I'm designing a LXNet, I have created one function with the name of Alex_net, and these are the three parameters for this algorithm, for this function. X is the input, weight is the associated weight, and bias is the related bias for it, right? So first of all, I'm having one variable, X variable, which will store the input, and in this variable, I'm reshaping the input by writing this. Why this 227 into 227 into 3? Because LXNet will accept the input in this form, and even we have resized all our images into 227 into 227, right? So we are reshaping our data, because after reshaping only we can give this data to our algorithm. So after reshaping, I'm just checking the shape of our data, right? So see, I'll show you the output in some time. First of all, let me explain you this whole architecture, layer structure. So now the task is first convolutional layer. So first convolutional layer have what is the filter size in first convolutional layer? 11 by 11, and stride is 4. So this is what we have written over here. So TensorFlow, in TensorFlow we have neural network. Under neural network we have convolutional layer, which is already designed. We just need to provide data to it. So X is, this is the X which we have just defined above. So X is the input, and weights is a dictionary, and under weight we have a key with the name of W1, which is storing the weight value for first convolutional layer, right? If you remember the above code which I have just explained you, weight is a dictionary and W1 key is storing a weight value for first convolutional layer. So I'm just calling the weight value from there, and then stride is 4. So stride is 4. First one and last one we needed to write it like this only, and these are the two important things. 4 by 4. This is the stride. Horizontally, we want to move 4 pixels, and vertically also we want to move 4 pixels. That's why I've written 4 twice, right? And see, whenever we work on, whenever we talk about neurons, so neurons have two parts, right? Summation and activation. Summation simply means we multiply weights with input. See, this is over here. Weight multiply input, and then I add bias in it. So this is the summation part. After that, we give this data to the activation part of a neuron, and the activation function will do some transformation on that data, right? So in this line, what we are doing, we are just multiplying W with X. This is W, weight value, and this is X. We are just multiplying X with W. Now the task is to add bias in it. So in TensorFlow, we have bias_add method by which we can add bias term in input. So we want to add bias in what? Data which is present in this variable. So that's why I've written this. And which bias we want to add? So in a biases dictionary, we have bias which is stored in B1 key, which is related to this first convolutional layer. So I'm adding that bias in it. So till now the summation part of neuron has been done. Now the next task is to perform the activation part. And which activation function we are using over here? ReLU. Why we are using ReLU? Because if you are using ReLU, with the help of ReLU will delete all your replace all your negative values with 0, and it will solve the problem of vanishing gradient. So that's why we are using ReLU activation function. And on what we want to apply ReLU? The data after summation, right? So data after summation is stored in this. So that same data we are providing to our ReLU, and this is the task of first convolutional layer. Now the output of first convolutional layer is stored in conv1, which will become the input to the next layer. What is the next task after first convolutional layer? What is the next task? This max pool layer, where we have stride 2 and window size is 3 by 3. Now we want to apply this. So you can see over here, this is the in max pool variable. See, TensorFlow in neural network, we have max_pool layer already developed. We are just calling it. And what will be the input to this? The output of previous layer. And the output of previous layer is stored in conv1. So we are giving conv1 over here. And the filter sizes means the window size is 3 by 3. And the stride is 2, 2. That means horizontally and vertically we are using stride 2. Right, and the results we are storing in max pool 1. and then we'll print like what we are getting after the maxpool1 layer. Now this is the task of second convolutional layer. In the same way, maxpool1 will become the input to this layer, and from weights we are choosing W2 as a weight, and from biases we are choosing B2, and then again we are running ReLU function on it, right? So this is how the second layer will work. In the same way, see, after second layer also we are having maxpool layer. You can see in the diagram again, after second convolutional layer also we are having maxpool, and after that 3, 4 and 5th, third, fourth and fifth, these three convolutional layers are connected together without any maxpool layer. So this is what I've designed over here. You can see that okay, from here convolutional layer 3, and then convolutional layer 4, and then convolutional layer 5. We are not having any pooling layer in between, and we are just picking the output of previous layer will become input to next layer, and we are choosing weight accordingly, the layer wise. And after fifth layer we are having the max pool layer. See over here, right? After fifth layer we are having max pool layer, and this is just I'm checking the shape over here. Now the task is of fully connected layer. Now, if you want to give the output of convolutional layer to a fully connected layer, then we need to reshape our data from a two-dimensional image to a one-dimensional vector. So how we can do that? So as I've just shown you, 6 into 6 into 256. We need to perform this multiplication, and we will be having 9216 neurons, pixels. So this is what we are doing over here. If you'll see here, let me show you. Over here, right? So we are using the over here. The output of maxpool 5 is, what is the output of maxpool 5? 6 into 6 into 256. The output of last maxpool is 6 into 6 into 256. This is the input for this fully connected layer, right? So first of all, I'm reshaping this. So this is the line how we can reshape it. So this is what we are doing. I'm reshaping that 6 into 256, which is stored in maxpool 5. After reshaping it, I'm checking the shape after reshaping it, and then we are running it, we are giving it to fully connected layer, right? And then this is a seventh layer, and this is the last layer, and in last layer we are using which activation function? Softmax. See, till seventh layer we were using ReLU activation function, but in last layer we were using softmax activation function. Why? Because this is a object detection, object classification task, and we want to know the probability that particular image, what is the probability, how much probability is there for that particular image, that this image belongs to which particular class. And for that we use softmax activation function, because we cannot use ReLU activation function over here, because the task of ReLU function is only to replace all the negative values with 0, and right. But over here we want to know that that particular image which we are giving to our algorithm is belong to which particular class, bedroom or a dining room. For that, our algorithm will give us the probability that this is the probability that this particular image belong to bedroom, and this is the probability that this image belong to dining, right? And finally our function is returning this variable, and this will show us the output. So this is the network which we have designed, right? Now all this data, all this network, all this algorithm we have designed in a function with the name of LXNet, right? Now let's call the function. So in next line, in a model variable, I'm calling this LXNet function, and this is the input, weights and biases related to it, and then we are printing the model. So over here you can see, which I have explained you. Initially the size of X image is 227 by 227 into 3, and after first convolutional layer and max pool layer, this will be the output, and after second convolutional layer this will be the output, after third convolutional layer this will be the output, and after fourth convolutional layer we'll get this, and after fifth layer we'll get this, and after sixth layer, remember 6 into 6 into 256 will become 9216, and This 9 to, after reshaping this, we get, after multiplying this 6 into 6 into 256, we'll get 9216 pixels. These 9216 pixels are going to first fully connected layer, and then we have a last layer where we have two neurons which are responsible for showing us the output, right? So now next thing is, so this is the learning rate. Learning rate I'm using is 0.01, and then I'm calculating the cost function, means I'm calculating error. How we calculate error? Basically, what is error? See, the error simply means how much is the difference between your actual y value and the predicted y value. Our predicted algorithm, we are calling our algorithm model variable, right? So this is the predicted output. Model is storing the predicted output, and y underscore is having our actual output, right? And once we get the predicted output and actual output, we will check the RMSE of it, and on the basis of that error, we are using optimizer to update the weight, and we want to minimize the error, minimize the cost function, right? Why we want to update the weight? Because we want to minimize the error. So this is how we calculate error, and this is how we are using the optimizer, which will update the weights. And after that, I'm initializing all the variable, and cost history is a blank list which will store all the errors of all the epochs, and number of epochs which I want to run is 5 epochs, right? See, this is just to make you understand the concept, so that's why I'm using only 5 epochs, right? So after that, I'm starting a session and initializing a session, and then over here you'll see I'm running epochs, right? So for training our algorithm, we are giving train X and data which is present in train X and Y train Y, and this is what we are getting. Our algorithm is giving us 78% accuracy. After that, you can test your algorithm, right? So this is how AlexNet works. So I hope you understand. See, I have given you, I have explained you the code of these all these layers and how all these layers are giving us output. I've shown you that. Hope this helped, right? Thank you.